Hey everybody, welcome back to The Pathway. My name is Taylor Henrik. I'm here with my co-host Sarang Patel.
Hey guys.
We're lucky to be joined today by a third co-host and guest, Joey Namou.
Hey, let's go.
We're going to have some fun today. We're going to talk about a variety of topics, what's important in today's world, give you a few updates on the progress that Peer Psychiatry Group has made, and we're going to continue on our walk down the pathway. Man, I'm excited. Joey, welcome.
Thank you guys. I've been following along all the clips on Instagram, and I'm excited to be a part of the show finally.
We appreciate you. We appreciate
Long
you.
overdue.
Joey is a friend. Joey is a role model for us.
Wow.
We're excited to have Joey with us today on the pathway.
It's been, over 10 years of friendship with you guys, and it finally got my invite. About time.
It's been in the mail, man. It's been in the mail. Well, what do you think, Sarah? What do you want to talk about today?
Well, I think we do a small, just a podcast today, just about conversations,
Sure.
random things, whatever come to our mind. I
Sure.
know you had some questions too, but just kind of a casual conversation thing today.
Sure. It's been a couple months since we've been in the lab. So,
Yeah.
First and foremost, Peer Psychiatry Group is still around. We're still here. We're still kicking. 18 locations, 2 in Ohio, 16 in Michigan. Growing, expanding, still doing what we can to increase accessibility. So the reason for the season and why we're here at the heart of it and the core of it is increasing accessibility, making sure that everybody has access to not just mental health care, but sterling and top-notch mental health care. In doing so, we've been able to expand. Peer Psychiatry Group is going to be adding more locations, and we're excited.
Where are we
So,
going next?
Where are we going next? I have a couple ideas.
Okay, hit me.
So most recently, we opened a practice in Southfield, Michigan. We expanded our practice in Plymouth, Michigan, from a satellite office or a one office to a full-blown practice. And we opened on March 9th in Kalamazoo. Next on the docket, looks to be something on the east side. So we're looking at the Shelby or Utica area for a practice. That's probably going to be soon. And then it looks like Battle Creek, Michigan. Any others that are at the top of your thoughts?
Maybe Paw Paw.
Mm-hmm.
Just 'cause I like the name. And then Grand Rapids.
Absolutely.
I think we said 2 or 3 in Grand Rapids
Yeah.
based on.
I'm repping Grand Rapids
location.
today. Let's
There you
go.
There we go.
Oh, you go to the G League stuff, don't you?
Yeah, Grand Rapids Gold. So my buddy actually owns this team.
What's a Grand Rapids Gold?
It's the Denver Nuggets affiliate team. He used to be a part of the Pistons, long story short, but now they're a direct affiliate with the Denver Nuggets.
Who's better, the Motor City Cruise or the Grand Rapids Gold?
Come on now.
You don't know the standings?
No, I mean Motor City Cruise. Motor City Cruise is in the playoffs still, and
Let's go.
right now on paper they're a better team, but from an organization standpoint, Grand Rapids, because there's no professional teams out there.
Yeah.
So Grand Rapids, the G League, and the Gold is the biggest deal out there. That's why, like when you guys first said you're doing Kalamazoo, I got excited about that because you're serving a market that needs it, in my opinion.
Yeah. They have the Griffins and now they have the Gold.
Yep.
They got the amphitheater coming.
Yeah.
That's their big thing, right? Accenture.
They got, I
Sponsored.
think, professional volleyball there now. Like they're doing a lot of things.
There we go.
Rufus de Sol's coming there.
There you go. And that's where his mind's at.
Yeah. It's gonna be one of those.
Pretty much.
You stayed
One
at
of
the
those days.
You stayed at the JW Marriott though.
I did.
And you liked it.
I did. I liked it.
There's some good
that,
steakhouses
restaurant
there.
on top.
Yeah.
Madrid.
Yeah.
It's like MDRD.
Yeah, there's
So
some
good.
options. When we look at our goals across the state of Michigan and the state of Ohio, obviously there's challenges in every market. But, Sarang and I, in a sincere sense, want to continue to expand the footprint, continue to get Peer Psychiatry Group out there, be able to hit more areas, serve more underserved populations. And in doing so, I think that just keeps us incredibly busy. So we'd love to be here more often. But honestly, even though Sarang and I spend a lot of time together, and luckily we get to spend a lot of time with Joey, it's not easy to be able to carve out the hours it takes to be able to get these shows rolling. So we apologize for any delays. We're excited to be here today. We hope to be able to talk about a number of topics. This is just going to be a free-for-all. So bear with us, and we hope that you have some fun. So Joey, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so obviously we got a proud partnership to where we get to work with Woodward Sports and Pure Psychiatry. And on the show, we were actually talking about some questions that some of our audience had for you two specifically. So if we can, I'd like to ask a couple of these questions.
Sure.
Shoot away.
Hit it.
So one of the first ones, and it was actually something that I related to, is now obviously the term mental health is very popular, underserved, and thankfully for you guys, what you guys offer in the services, you handle that and take care of it for so many people. So now what's the difference between normal stress and then something deeper? And how do you identify that?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Good question.
Take it
You
away.
hit it. Yeah.
Wow. Identifying between the two, I think it takes a little bit of time. The first thing that I would encourage is that you have an open communication with yourself, between yourself and a psychiatric provider or your counselor. Take some time to dive in, like delineate, set down your quote unquote symptoms, signs. What are you experiencing? How long have they been present? What exacerbates them? How often are they present? What are some key factors that I need to be aware of? And what's going on in your life, right? So Sarang and I have talked before about different sources of stress cultivating or being a breeding ground for high levels of anxiety or depression or other mental health related concerns. So when you're looking at normal stress, we always say everybody's normal is different. Where one person's threshold or capacity to handle stress is going to be very low and someone else's is very high. So you could have a single mom who's got financial stress, who's working 2 jobs and supporting 3 kids, and she's like, life's good, I'm fine, And then you have somebody else who gets a paper cut and, they're going to the ER or the world is ending. And again, I'm painting facetious examples, but the point being, it's hard and it takes time to differentiate between what is normal stress and what is developing into a mental health condition. And so we go based off of what? We use DSM-5 criteria. We use our experience. We go off of what we've seen before anecdotally, and we make an educated decision, a scientific and evidence-based decision to decide whether treatment's indicated. Sometimes that involves a mental health therapist. Sometimes it's just us as the psychiatric provider or vice versa. But I think taking a collaborative approach, listening to the client, and just ultimately trying to get down to what's going to help them. Do they feel stressed? Is there something that you can do to alleviate the stress? Or is this something that's just going to take time?
I think, ditto what you said, honestly. But, we talked about it in an earlier podcast, too. I think when you look at how you handle it with somebody, like as far as like a patient, empathy plays a big role, right? So it's like what he said, like the severity of your anxiety or stress, whatever it is, what's stressful to you may not be stressful to myself. So as a clinician, I think the hardest part is being able to understand is that I may not understand that. I think I mentioned it before, like unfortunately if a pet passes away. I've never had a pet, so I don't know what it feels like. But that gives people a lot of stress, of course, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, obviously a lot of distress. You as a clinician, you have to understand that you may not actually feel it, but you have to meet the patient where they're at. And sometimes just saying, hey, like I've never been through what you're going through. So it's a new thing for both of us as far as like, I'm not dealing with it, but I'm here to support you, whatever it is, moving forward. But then it's also important, I think, when we talked about this earlier too, is when you have a distressful issue, sometimes I think one of the most helpful parts is leaning on friends or family or therapists. If you don't have, someone that can support you in that sense, that's been through the same thing or that understands it. So it's financial burden. Hey, I'm in this financial pickle here right now. This is what's going on with my partners. This is what's going on with with the client of mine financially, X, Y, and Z. If you're a business owner, for example, how do I handle that? Well, for me, it's helpful to talk to somebody else who's been in the same shoes. Even if they don't know what to do, it's to bounce ideas off of that. Because that's priceless, right? And I think sometimes when I always tell patients you need a therapist, it's because you need an independent source to bounce ideas off of sometimes, not to give you the right or wrong answer. Therapist jobs aren't to say, hey, you should get a divorce. Hey, you should do this thing. Hey, you should do this. No, it's to guide you through what's best for you, but to be your soundboard to bounce ideas off of. So that's a good question. Actually, the level of distress that you go to, level of stress that you go through, and I think it'll change, right? It'll fluctuate throughout the course of that one trigger itself, that one stressor. And initially, it can start off severe or not that bad, and then kind of fluctuate to the opposite, to the extremes. And I think it's normal and it's expected to tell the patients and tell everybody that you're going to bounce around in this range of okay and severe, but you kind of have to understand to like slowly, I think, minimize the extremes, right? Something major happens and you have like zero stress about it. Anxiety is a normal thing. If you have zero anxiety about it, that's also an issue. Like you have to have a little bit of anxiety. It's normal. I tell kids it all the time as they go to school. Mm-hmm. You have a test coming up. Yeah, that anxiety level is normal. You should feel anxious about a test. Shouldn't be extreme, but it shouldn't be nothing either. That boundary there a little bit.
Great answer.
Yeah, that was very helpful because I feel like oftentimes it's just the stigma that it's a one size fits all for everybody, right? Like everybody that walks into your room when you guys are seeing these patients is different.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
you know, for me, when I relate to myself, like even at Woodward Sports, I mean, we're dealing with a lot of high profile guests that come by, and everybody's going through something different. So whether it's an athlete and the day of, they cancel the interview, for example, because they just had a game yesterday. And now it leads to my next question of social media, right? So a lot of guests will, not a lot, but we'll have situations where a guest will cancel because the game last night wasn't the outcome that they wanted, and then they took a beating on social media, and unfortunately they opened up their social media and they got to see all this hate. I feel like we just compare, even as regular individuals, you and I, we compare ourselves to too much in this world with social media. And how do you, I mean, influencers and all these terms that we have nowadays, what advice do you have for people that kind of look for social media to just like describe who they are? You know, I don't know how to really say that, but
For sure. I think we look for gratification on social media. We look for familiarity. We look for relatability on some of these channels and on some of these pages, but it's very difficult to reach. Sarang and I had a similar topic, but we're going to take it down a different path today. But we talked about how it's very difficult to know what is and is not real because of photoshopping and now advent of AI and advances in AI. So it's very difficult. Even though Sarang's not a believer in AI,
he loves AI.
he's firmly
I
against
do
AI.
like it. Just change your emails. Just reformat it.
Just don't write the email and start with, I hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
I ain't doing well. Stop asking.
Half the things are bolded in between. Like, come on.
I saw the funniest thing on social media the other day. I have to mention this. This guy was writing emails to his boss, and he was increasingly writing his like, you know how you say like sincerely, comma? He's like, watch how unhinged my emails get. And it was like, yours in despair. It was like, only here for the paycheck, comma, Taylor Henrik. Then they were like getting ridiculous. So that was funny.
That's awesome.
That was a good form of social media.
Yeah.
But going back to your question, I think it is really hard. It's really, really hard. I would encourage any adult, adolescent, or pediatric patient, anybody who's taking in or consuming any amount of social media, to just take it as a grain of salt, right? Go to it. I mean, we all feel it. We all feel like a sense of longing, or there's things on there that are better than ours, or a feeling of want, a feeling of desire for items, purchases, houses, cool stuff, cool pages. Like, it's like, man, I wish I had that page. I wish I had the thought to make that. But there's something to be said for just living in the real world as well. One thing that I think is interesting that I want to introduce, have you guys heard of the Bark phone for kids? Mm-mm. So there's like, I believe I'm saying it correctly. It's called a Bark phone. So it's like a training phone for a kid who's going to be getting a cell phone. And it allows the parents to be able to monitor what they're consuming, what they're doing, their communication. You can enter in flag words. So like if inappropriate language is being used or something like that. I just thought that was kind of a good idea for like even preteens sometimes need a phone. There might be instances or situations where you feel more comfortable with your kid having a phone. And so when you have those in place, it might be easier for the kid to be able to communicate or like be in a safe space. But it was just kind of a cool idea.
I mean, especially the phone, as a parent, especially, and I know you two can relate to this, that's my biggest fear is the day that my kid says, I want a phone.
Yeah.
Because for us, I mean, I didn't have one before high school. So it's like now,
Same.
Yeah.
I don't even know what's the going rate these days. Probably
Cell phone? I have no idea.
second grade. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But it's scary. A phone, I mean,
Yeah.
I like this Bark
Actually,
phone
I went to
idea.
elementary school.
My daughter's over there like swiping on her iPad, looking at videos. It's hilarious. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I didn't like that one. Like, I didn't like what the message they were telling you. You know?
Have you seen like with the kids, it's off topic, but when you give them, I should say social media, but give them media in general, like the iPad, the cell phone, they watch YouTube, they watch Netflix, whatever you're going to watch, whatever you give them. How there are more tantrums when they are in the season of watching it versus when you stop it, the tantrums diminish. Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
So like,
100%.
Like you've done it before, like had friends that done it before where like they cut it off for like a month or like 2 months. Like cut it off means like no TV, no cell phone, not watching YouTube, even while you eat, whatever it is. And you see that, I think you see a level of tantrums. You still get them, yeah, for sure. Like you still get tantrums, but they diminish tremendously. But to go back on your topic, I think, you know, we look at, sometimes we say athletes, we think about like professional athletes the most. We think about their paychecks are huge. Like I think that's what my mind goes to. Like, hey, a lot of people say the same thing too, right? Social media, It's like, oh, like they're okay to it's okay to talk bad about them, to say they should always perform well because they're getting paid well. Like, no one's perfect, even if you're getting paid well, whatever it is.
Still human at the end of the day.
I can't imagine, and I think about, I was at the Pistons game, right? When the Pistons came together, you have how many eyes looking at you at the stadium and nationwide or whatever it is, right? Region-wide, that you have to look good. You have to prepare yourself. You can't look like a bum that day. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or you can, but I mean, you typically want to look well, and it's how much pressure was going into just prepping for that aspect, not only the game itself.
Yeah.
When I think about, like, oh yeah, you got to perform, you got to make your shots, you got to dunk, like all that kind of stuff for sure. But imagine how much goes into just like having a certain appearance.
Yeah, physical performance.
Yeah. I would, I'm not saying that they are feeling like that, but I would feel like that. I'm not saying it's right.
But think about it. They get there well before the game. They have to prep. They have to eat the right
haircut,
way.
Like everything. And it's a lot of stuff. And just from the haircut, I look at, like, I wish I had hair, but from the haircut, you could think about that's how it'd be. So I think it's hard. We talked about this in a previous podcast too, like being materialistic and kind of how social media kind of drives you to kind of being there sometimes as well, whether it's physical nature or buying cars or watches or whatever it is. I'd be happy to say that I'm going to live my life or tell my kids to live their life where, hey, you're not going to be materialistic. So I think that, and I don't have the answer yet either, but it's trying to figure out how do you balance that by saying, you're going to have to enjoy life or enjoy the materialistic pleasures, whatever it is. But again, staying within the confines and not the extremes. I think that's the challenging part. That is what we do. We try to guide you, say, don't be materialistic, don't do anything at all. Mm. Let's be realistic. Like, where you can actually fall into place and can you kind of control it is the biggest thing.
Well, I also think when you're in a position similar to ours, and I just mean in general, like as a provider, right, or somebody who's working in medicine or somebody who owns a business like Joey, there's still going to be things that you want. And like part of it is, do you feel it's appropriate to reward yourself for how hard you work? Like if there is nothing that you want, or some people it's experiences, right? So it's experiences or it's vacations or it's cars or it's houses or it's Funko toys or it's watches. Like you said, it can be a number of things, but that incentivization almost has to be there, right? We all work really, really hard, from everybody who puts in 40 hours and beyond. You kind of want to have that drive. You want to have something that you work towards.
But my biggest thing is the comparison issue that social media brings. Like, I'll never forget my little cousin, Yeezys, those shoes, right? They're stupid expensive. He never cared about these shoes at all, but then sees one friend with him.
Yeah.
And it's just that comparison that, I mean, we're all guilty of it, right? Every single one of us here have done that at some point, whether it's shoes or just anything, like, oh, someone else is wearing it, I want it. And that's the biggest struggle that I feel like that I'll face personally, being a social media figure, just say, because you see things on social media, whether it's a competitor or something, in any line of work, it applies to everybody, and you just put yourself as a comparison.
Yeah.
We got to get away from that. It's not about comparing yourself to somebody else, because we're all, like I said, one of one. Mm-hmm. So you got to be your own human being, and at the end of the day, it's not about looking at anybody else and having that satisfaction or gratification to be able to compare yourself.
How do you do that? Because you are more in the limelight than most individuals that Sarang and I know, and there are people that definitely look to you for a lead. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, for me, I like that's why being around high school kids has always been my favorite thing. Is you go to these high schools and these kids look up to you. And now it's way different, because these high schools, they got probably 5-10 random influencers that are in the school that have more followers than me. But it's like, I don't look at it as a number, like, oh, I got X amount of followers, that defines who I am. I look at it as, what is your gift and how can you give that and share that with the rest of the world? So for me, I love being in front of high school kids and really just kind of being a little bit of a role model for these kids and seeing just what it is that I remember being in their shoes at that age of 15, 16, 17 years old, and just how amazing the opportunity of life is for them. For me, being in radio for so many years, I mean, I was with Mojo in the Morning from 2012 to 2020, and during that time, I never had the luxury of having a radio station at my school. Now, they all have little podcast studios in every single school, and I just like to tell them, like, go ahead and try that opportunity, because at the end of the day, my career started as a freshman at Oakland University as a CPA. That's what I wanted to be. Look at your face. You didn't even know that.
I didn't.
Damn.
And my brothers always laugh, because I was the shy kid. When you guys first met me in your earlier years at Detroit Mercy, like, I didn't really start radio at that point. I was just in high school when we had met. But then I just quickly changed because of one opportunity that I got to just have this internship with Mojo. And then it led to opportunities. So I always like to give the advice of just try things. They don't really know exactly what it is that they want to do. It's just go try different internships and just really find out who you are, because you don't know until you try.
Yeah. That level of outreach that you do is really something I admire. Being able to give back and maybe inspire somebody who's going to be the next Joey, right? Or like somebody who's going to be an adjacent or going to be a figure within the Detroit sports world in the future. That's pretty cool that you're allowing them the chance, or maybe encouraging them where maybe they were going to go down a different route. I really like that.
I mean, the beauty of sports, right, with Woodward Sports is nothing separates us from anybody that's just doing a podcast at their house now. And I love that, right? I mean, we might have a bigger network, right? We're over 700,000 followers, over 100 million views a month now. So getting those numbers obviously takes a full team and an army, and we have an amazing team that helped us get to that goal. But anybody could just crack open a microphone. You could get the stuff for a couple $100, get a little camera, even do it all on your iPhone. And you can do it all from your home too. So if it's something that interests you and someone's watching right now that does want to be a sports broadcaster, nothing is stopping them from just opening up their phone and putting out content on Twitter.
Well, let's be real. If Sarang and I can do it, then anybody can, right?
Yeah.
Thankfully, we have Adam behind the scenes who kind of keeps us reeled in, but this would be way more off the rails if he wasn't here.
Yeah.
Because of Taylor.
Yeah. The makeup room over there when they got you guys ready.
Right.
Your
right.
hair.
You mean
more so you, not Sarang.
Sarang's whiskey room? No.
I didn't need that.
That'll be edited.
How about from a parenting standpoint? I'm sure you guys have talked about this at some point. It's even something that I struggle with daily right now, is just trying to be the best parent that you could be and the best husband that you can be, separating just the time of work and home and family. Like, that's something that I feel like we're all struggling with.
I do think that our generation says the word work-life balance a little bit too much, or especially the next generation. I think it's coming out way too much because they're thinking, 20 hours is work-life balance. Like, no, that's not work-life balance. That's just like you don't want to work, which I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, separating laziness. Like, come on now. That's laziness at that point.
Like, let's be real. So I think you should still push yourself to work. Doesn't matter what industry you're in, whether you're in healthcare, business, finance, broadcasting, or in sports, right? You still push yourself. But I think trying to find that balance between also taking time for yourself. So you can work 80 hours a week. I know there's bankers and consultants that work 8 hours a week, and that's like the normal routine. But can you do that and also put time in for yourself? What is your advice? What is something that helps you kind of relax, I think, and time for yourself that I think we don't put into place? Because initially when we started the company too was work, time for ourselves will be later. And I get that part about it, but I do think you can incorporate that early onto it while you're grinding, especially if you're a small business owner or you work for a big corporation. You could really try to put in something for yourself. The example I'll give you is I talked to somebody earlier this week. She is executive director for essentially a medical hospital, like a hospital company, both in Illinois and Michigan. She's one of our friend's sisters. She's a powerhouse, 4 kids, executive director, working her butt off, super smart. I learned from her in a Zoom call for an hour. I was like the last podcast, I barely talked. I was like, okay, just like listening and learning, and it was great. And it was never like, I don't have time for that. It was like, I'm like, how do you do 4 kids? How are you doing that with that? And your husband's working in this. And I'm like, I got 2 and I can't figure it out. And she's like, just make it happen. So you walk away from that, and I look at it and I say, the whole thing that I've been going to about saying I need more balance is not actually accurate. You have to try to find a way, I think, to incorporate it earlier, but then it's balance from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And if you find the balance from the beginning, then you're set. That's my answer. So we haven't figured it out yet, but we've learned through I think our failure so far. That's where I landed at least.
No, that's a good answer. I also think it's also ever evolving. Like, my answer today is different than it would have been 6 months ago. So speaking on what Sarang said, I think it is something that it's somewhat of a moving target, because some weeks I feel very imbalanced. I work my tail off and I feel like I didn't give my best to my family, but then the weekend hits and I'm like, man, I'm going to turn my phone off. I'm going to not even open the computer today. And I'm just going to devote time to my wife and my daughter, because that's the right thing to do. Like, it's not neglectful, but it's just, there's weeks where it's evening calls, it's early morning meetings, it's gone during the day, and that's what it took. Like, thank God I have a wife that supports that, and I have a partner who supports that, and I have friends and coworkers that support that. But I always look at it as like, there's a 4-week run in a month. So if 1 week I'm gonna work really, really hard, I'm not going to dial it back another week, but maybe instead of getting on the evening call, I'm going to take my daughter to the park. Like, I'm going to try to make decisions during that time that maybe help me feel a little bit more reset, or like it got my scales balanced a little bit.
That's a good one. I like that.
That is.
Let me ask you a question. Okay, I know it's off topic, but screw it. We talked about this a little bit earlier, and it was, and I think it's a challenging piece to answer this question, so take it with a grain of salt here, but you know, I've seen these posts on Instagram, and I've also talked to friends about it, where it's like, hey, you want to surround your friends, you know, keep the friends around you, a group that motivates you, whether it's financially, whether it's physically, if that's your goal, whether it's emotionally, whether it's family, like whatever it is that drive you. So I think it's important to have how important do you think it is to have a mixture of your friend group that actually motivates you in all those aspects? And what if you are the one, I'm not saying it's me, I'm not saying it's you guys, what if you are the one that is the driving force in that friend group? How does that affect you differently if you're the driving force in that friend group, right? So like, I might be the one that's the most emotionally intellectual in our friend group, and he's gonna laugh about that and you guys will laugh about that because I'm definitely not. But what if I was the most emotionally intellectual or engaging person in our friend group, and I motivated people to do that, especially like, let's say the husbands in the group, right? Then how do I, like, what happens if your friend group doesn't motivate you in that sense? What do you do then?
Get rid of them.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying in the nicest way possible. How important is it for you to surround yourself with everyone in the friend group that motivates you?
So say friend group,
sense?
but extrapolate it to like your circle,
Sure,
right?
your
Because it can be
circle,
family members,
Family,
it can be
friends,
cousins, it can be
colleagues.
who you spend your time with. You have to derive from those relationships what you want. So there can be someone who's a dud, but you love them, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you carried them along on your bootstraps. Maybe it's a friend from school that like you just aren't that close with anymore, but they're still someone you care about. So it depends on what you're relying on those relationships for. Right? So everything's different. Like you and I motivate each other. Joey motivates me. Joey motivates you. We all motivate each other to be better. That's something that like we're not competitive with each other. It's more so like, wow, like 3 people can really achieve a lot. But there's different types of relationships. I have a very different relationship with one of our buddies who's like someone I just go play pickleball with, and it's more casual. I don't derive any competition from him. I don't feel like I go to him for like, oh, let's grind today. Like I'm not texting him first thing in the morning, like let's have a great day. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So everybody's relationship I feel like is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And you go to different individuals for different purposes. What about for you?
Yeah, I like that. I look at it as you got your circles, right? Because I feel like you become who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
For me, throughout my earlier before we started recording, we were joking about Orchid in Ferndale and all these different places. Like a big
shout out the kid.
A big part of my earlier career was being out at these clubs. And one thing that I'm very proud of for myself is that I do not drink. Very rarely will you see me drink. But I was around a bunch of alcoholics. Let me just shoot it straight. And a lot of the people that I was working with, they would invite me to different places and all this after hours. And I didn't want to surround myself. And it was a tough part to where my mom was looking at this all like, you're just at clubs all day. And she was starting to get pissed about it. But I was like, Mom, I don't even drink when I go out to them. It is strictly business. That's it. In and out. So that's where I feel like you just got to separate yourself. Like if I were to have done it, because I can say it now that I'm 32, but I was starting this at 17 years old in these clubs, unlimited bar tabs at 17 years old, right? And you know, they put that in front of you, and it's just like you look at it as you need to separate yourself from what is the good out of this and what is the bad. Just like AI, just like social media. There's good and there's bad. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you got to separate that. So for me, it's the same thing with your friendships. You might have that one friend that is good for pickleball, but you don't want them around for business, unfortunately, because they're lazy. So you just have to figure out how you differentiate between what those friends are. And I don't want to say like, just because this person drinks or they do suffer from alcoholism, that I don't want to be around them. No, I want to be there to be a support system, a good friend. I'm not Xing them out of my entire life, but I had a friend that I lived with for a little while, and there was a part in his life to where he knows he was going through some things, and I felt like he was bringing me down, having that negative energy. So for a short period of time, we didn't talk, and then we've rekindled since, and now we're back to being homies again. So you just very hard. It's not easy.
Yeah, I don't think it's an easy answer. And I look at it and I say that if in your inner circle or if in your friend group, motivational group, colleague group, if in the groups around you, you don't have someone that motivates you, but pushes you to be a better human being in each area, then I think you have to, I don't know if you should strive to add that to your group, because it's not like you're going out to look for that in particular. Sometimes it's just like, you can't always just go get it. Sometimes you can just find someone that's going to motivate you in that sense. That's where I've turned to social media and I've said, like, I save a lot of the motivational stuff, a lot of the tax stuff, a lot of the tax code stuff, a lot of the stuff on finances, education about the financial aspect of it. I look at all that stuff. I know there's some negative stuff out there. A lot of stuff is fake or wrong, whatever it is, but it opens your mind, I think, and it motivates you then to share that with your group. So I think sometimes when you don't have that factor that motivates you, that factor that really is there to kind of lead the whole group, then sometimes you have to try to find another way to kind of get it. I think it's important, because I think we always should try to become better. Never perfect. I'm not trying to say go with more money, but be a better husband, be a better father, be a better friend, better colleague, a better prescriber, better patient, like all that kind of stuff. Even patients, we're all patients here too. We have to continue to strive to become a better person, better for society.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Overall contributions can always be more than they are.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a nice round out. Those were wonderful questions. Thank you for bringing those to our attention. Nice to hear different perspectives. Sarang's perspective, mine, and yours, Joey, are all going to differ to some degree, but you can see some commonality between our answers. So it's nice to kind of talk about the different things that are important to us today, right? Rather than going on and on about a diagnosis or diving in clinically, it's nice to just, what's important today? What are some of the things that we're facing today? And how are we maybe trying to capture those moments of happiness that we have and keep balance as well as healthy imbalance amongst the ways that we move forward?